Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tesla Owners UK on streaming on YouTube. This afternoon, hopefully, we've got a great event for you, which is we're going to be speaking to Omar Sultan in the US, who was lucky enough to pick up his Model S Plaid at the delivery event in Fremont, California, just over a week ago. And he has very kindly agreed to show us around the car and to answer people's questions. And can we bring Omar in and introduce him? Hi, Omar. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And that's your beautiful car.
It is.
And I was just wondering to sort of help people put some context in. This is not your first Tesla, is it? Can you give us a bit of your Tesla history?
It is not. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you again.
Oh, sorry. I'll try speaking louder.
So this is our third family Tesla. I started off with a 2013 P85, which I actually absolutely loved. Then my wife has a 2016 Model X P90D, and then so my 2013 was getting a little long in the tooth. So when the refresh was announced, I ordered one of the refreshes. I originally started off with an order for the LR model and ended up with the Plaid.
And how did that manage? Because that's a lot more money, isn't it?
It is. So I sold my P85 back in January when I put the order in on the expectation. Okay, I mean everything's still shut down here from the pandemic, so offices are closed and stuff. So we really didn't need a car. And my wife and I were sharing her Model X. But things have been dragging a little bit, and I called my SA and said, hey, look, our office is opening in June. I kind of need a car by July. And she said, well, so let me see what I can do. And she came back and said, hey, if you ordered a Plaid, they're getting priority. You can probably get one in June. So had a bit of a chat with my wife about the 50K Delta. But loving soul that she is, she bought in, and so I placed the order, and I was expecting, okay, I'll be happy if I get something by the end of the month. And like literally the Sunday before the event, I got a call from a Tesla number. So of course, I grab it right away and talk to a nice guy. He's like, hey, would you like to take delivery on Thursday? I'm like, wow. Okay, is there any answer other than yes to that question? So I got a VIN, and picked up the car on Thursday, and I've been driving it around since.
Wonderful. So is it the exact specification that you wanted?
So I started off with an LR, but then I moved to a Plaid. But yeah, I mean, everything's in there that I had. So, the ordering is very simplified, right? Basically, it's color, interior color, wheels, and trim, and FSD or not.
Right. Well, it looks absolutely beautiful. Do you want to, I know you've actually done this before for some other clubs. Can you start to walk around and show us the car as you know, because obviously you know the car very well?
Sure. Let me do that. So let me walk around the outside. I'll kind of highlight the differences between this and the prior generation cars, and then we can take a peek inside. So I'll start around from the front. I was doing some acceleration tests this morning, so you can see a fine collection of dead bugs on the front. So the headlights and the like are the same. Really, the big differences here. You can see that the fog light cluster is more akin to the kind you find on the 3 and the Y. This bottom intake is much bigger than the prior models. It's probably about an inch taller overall, and that supports if you follow the presentation that Elon gave, the heat pump is about twice the capacity of the prior one, and so this means it can breathe easily. And then I'll show you this from the side. There's a big lip spoiler on the front, which is different. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but it extends. It probably extends a good inch or 2, inch and a half out from the what was normally the bumper cover. So those are the big changes on the front. Coming around, looking at the wheels. So these are the 21-inch arachnids. They're different than the ones they've had before. I mean, the ones that are in the store, the ones they've given away as referral bonuses. So these are much flatter in profile than the prior arachnids. So they're supposed to be much more aerodynamic. So this is the 21-inch option. The cars come with a 19-inch option called the Tempest. it's kind of a pretty, pretty cool wheel. It comes with a wheel cover, kind of like the Model 3, which helps with aero. So I paid probably 40-mile range penalty for going from 19 to 21-inch wheels. But they look good, so it's worth it. Side repeaters are bigger, so they stick out way more. One of the reasons is the car itself is wider, and I'll touch on that in a sec when I get to the back. And you can see everything is kind of the shiny black trim. So they pretty much took all the chrome off the outside of the car. Everything is, this shiny black color with at least with a couple of exceptions. It's almost like the chrome delete package is built in. You can see the door handles work the same way when you walk in. They right on cue, they pop out. Then if you come around to the back, so the Plaid comes with a carbon fiber spoiler. Looks very similar to the one that was found on prior models. Otherwise, the back looks pretty much the same. Here's the Plaid logo, which is unique to cars that were delivered last Thursday. We'll have regular Plaid. We'll just say Plaid here. I think LRs will either say nothing or they'll say dual motor.
Very cool. Very cool.
Was there a question?
No, I just said that's very cool having the other on the back.
It is very cool. So normally I debadge all my cars. It's like the first thing I do is take all the badges off. And I was planning on doing that if you just said Plaid was kind of boring. And like, okay, this I'm keeping because it's really unique. The other change is there's a diffuser down here, which is different. And then, although you really can't see it, there's a panel underneath there. It looks like it's set up for adding a hitch receiver at some point for towing. And that's pretty much it. So there's not a lot of difference between the Plaid and the LR, at least externally. That they got rid of the black, they got rid of the red brake calipers, so they're black. So those are consistent. Pretty much the only way you can tell the difference between a Plaid and LR is going to be from the spoiler on the back and badging, and then even between this version and prior generations, it's hard to tell really. If it's blackout, then yeah, you can tell by the blackout trim. But people get their handles wrapped. Really, the only really definitive way is to look at the front and look at the light clusters and the lip spoiler. Otherwise, they are pretty similar. And I know some folks are disappointed by that. And I, personally, I like it. I mean, I like the the subtlety and the nuance of kind of. I mean, this thing I pulled did a 0 to 60 in like 2.2 seconds this morning, and it's kind of happy sitting in my driveway. It looks like a family sedan. I can haul groceries and German Shepherds in there, and that's kind of part of what makes the Model S kind of cool. So I was thinking of going in, opening up the car, and taking you a tour of the inside. But if you have any questions,
well, there's two questions we've had so far. One of which, well, there's some more questions that we'll come to because it's about the Yoke steering wheel, which is inevitable. Okay. Someone asked about the Frunk. Is it easier to close or is it the same as before?
It's the same as before. It's still a manual Frunk. You still have to do the, kind of press in this area.
Yeah.
With two hands. Same thing. Don't press too here, otherwise you bend it. Don't press too hard in the middle, otherwise you dent it. So, no power Frunk yet.
And the other question was, were you upset there was no red brake calipers?
No, it's kind of. I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, I always like especially in a car like this. That's like this, a little splash of color would have been cool. But it's not the end of the world. Right. I think one of the things I try and communicate when I do these things is cohesively the car is pretty. It's pretty darn amazing. It feels very well put together. It feels like it was holistically designed. All the different engineering teams actually talked to each other, and they went for a common experience when you get in the car and try and drive it. So, I think the thing I tell folks is, look, there might be individual things that you disagree with and that you don't like, and that's my relationship with Tesla in general. I mean, there are individual decisions that Tesla, Elon, and have made over the years that I've been less than pleased with, but. At the end of the day, if you take a step back and look at cohesively, it's just an awesome car. It's an awesome car.
Right. So we have the inevitable question also about, and this is kind of an outside question. Have you managed to, what do you know about the battery?
I know nothing about the battery. So everything is, so all the tricks before about being able to crawl underneath and look at the sticker and stuff don't work. The underside is completely sealed. I think in my smug bug galley is a picture of the underside. So there's a complete solid sheath that goes from front to back. It's part of their, it's part of how they got the arrow. The battery is tucked away above that. So we haven't been able to, identify things correctly from charging and looking at, charging percent, change in state of charge and the amount of kilowatts added. Looking at roughly 100 kilowatt hours of usable right now, somewhere between 90 and 100 is kind of what the math says. I've only charged this twice, so kind of don't have a whole lot of data points.
Right. And what sort of charging speed were you getting? Do you have V3 chargers near you?
Yeah, so I did. I just happened to charge yesterday. So I went to a V3 charger with about 62% SOC, and it started at 125-ish.
Wow.
And then by the time it was pulling by the time it got to 90%, it was still pulling 50 kilowatts, which was fairly impressive.
Yeah.
So part of my homework this week is to take, over the weekend is to try and take it down to 20-30%, and then plug into a V3 supercharger and capture the charging curve. But overall, it seems to, so my frame of reference is, my P85, which is charger limited. So
Well,
I think it would pull 50 if it was full. It would pull 50 kilowatts at 10% SOC. So this is like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, you've had a massive change, haven't you, from a 2013 P85 to a 2021 Plaid? I mean, that's a big change. So yeah, it's very interesting. So someone else, and I actually know the answer to some of these questions, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So someone else is asking about the. Did you get it? Because obviously we know you can connect this to your phone like a Model 3 and a Y. Did you did you also get key fobs with the car?
An excellent question, yeah. So the car comes with 2 key fobs, 2 key cards, and then you can set up your phone. So you can have 17 devices that act as keys for the car. So for the most part, we've just been using, well, I'm the one that does most of the driving. For the most part, I've just been using the phone, which works well. I think the car responds to the key fob maybe a half a second or second faster. But in the scheme of things, it's more convenient to just have my phone, and it's consistent, right? I've never had it not open up on the phone, so yeah, I'll probably just stick with that.
Do you prefer using the phone to the old key fob on your older car?
Yeah, it's like one less thing in my pockets.
Yeah, I have to say I'm the same, because I went to a Model 3. I think it's much better. So I'm really glad that they've brought the S up to that as well. So someone is asking about the tires, and I know those wheels and tires are very wide, aren't they? They're actually wider than the old performance model.
Yeah, they're 290/30 in the back, and they are, I always forget what the front is. There are 265/35 in the front.
Yeah, so they're even wider than a Model X performance.
They are.
Yeah, very wide.
Should be fun finding tires.
Okay. Yeah, so someone has asked, is the car currently in the lowest suspension setting?
No, this is kind of the normal one.
Wow. So
in general, it's lower than the prior S's. It sits a little bit lower. I think part of what they said, they wanted I forgot to touch on that. They wanted a lower, wider stance. So the car is wider, 2 inches wider in the back and about an inch wider in the front in terms of overall widths. So they flared the fenders out. It's like like the size of the cabin itself is about the same as the prior car. But the body work, the panels are wider in the front and the back. That's one of the reasons the repeater cameras are angled out a little bit more, so we can clear the fenders.
Wow. So can you actually see that from the side, that they're wider?
Let's go see.
It's very subtle, isn't it?
It is. I mean, yeah. I mean, the whole car's subtle, so it's kind of not like.
Yeah. Certainly, those rear wheels are sitting wider in the arches.
Yep.
I think, yeah, because that was always
Yeah,
a little bit of a thing for me. Was the wheels were too inset, but they're certainly filling those arches very nicely. Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see they come out really nicely, and they almost come even to the top of the arch.
Okay. Right. I think people have started asking questions about the interior.
All right, let's go take a look at the inside. So, open up doors. So I end up getting the white interior with the wood trim. Let's see. So a couple of differences between the L. Let me turn the music off. So a couple of differences between the Plaid and the L and the LR. So if you can get a bit closer. If you can see, we have contrast stitching and contrast piping, and the seats are perforated and ventilated, and you can see the perforations are on the back as well as the bolster. So on the LR, the stitching is the same color. So there's no contrast, right? So there's no piping. The stitching is the same color, and the ventilation or the perforations are only on the back, not on the bolsters. Otherwise, they look pretty. Otherwise the interiors are pretty similar. So they're in the on the Plaid, you have the option of carbon fiber trim or the wood trim. On the LR, everyone gets the wood trim. So in terms of the interior overall, huge improvement in terms of choice of materials and those kinds of things. It's still, you can see, it's still the Tesla, aesthetic. It's very clean, very minimalistic. But I happened to chat with the guy that designed the interior at the Thursday event, and they took a lot of pride in finding materials that feel good to the touch, things that exude quality and durability. And I feel like they spent some time in trying to put little touches in, like in here there's a little offset panel with that's made out of fabric just to create some some contrast and those kinds of things. Let's see, seats in the front, super comfy. Probably the best of all the Teslas I've sat in, and I think I've pretty much sat in everything except the Model Y. In the back, headrests are fixed in the front. Headrests in the back are movable. I think overall there's more space in the back. The seats are back a little wider, and they're also reclined back. The backrests recline back a little bit more, so it makes for a little bit more headroom.
Yeah, I think when you look at the stats, I think there's 3 inches more headroom in the back. It's quite astonishing when you check in the manual.
Yeah, my son's 6'4", so he appreciates that.
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
He fit in the last one, but he was always kind of grimace when we go over speed bumps and the like. So this makes him happy. So interior, so the big thing everyone wants to know about is the yoke. So maybe we'll start there. So this is a yoke steering wheel. So lots of questions, lots of controversy. I've got my own a couple of videos online I've been calling Yoke Adventures that kind of chronicled my my journey with a yoke. So overall, after a week now, I like it. I've gotten, there's a learning curve, and I try and tell everyone, there's a learning curve with this. You're not going to just jump in there and take off, but it's not insurmountable. If a goofy middle-aged guy like me can get in, wrap my mind around it, I think pretty much everyone else can as well. I like it. It's really comfortable. It's very thick. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's deep, so it's very grippable and very comfortable to drive with. If you look at the the way it's set up, so no horn here. People always ask that. So on this side there is the regular thumb wheel, which everyone's used to at this point. It does the same things it does in the 3, in the 3 and the Y. Controls volume, controls media. Turn signals are here. There's a little ridge I think you can see in the video here.
Yes.
And when you're driving, it's nice because your thumb's right there, so there's not a lot of movement you have to do. And because because there's a ridge here, you can kind of tell where your thumb is, and you can move. You can pick sides without having to look at what you're doing. Then headlights, you can tap this to flash your high beams or turn your high beams off, or hold it to turn your high beams on. So the surface is hard. It's not like a membrane keyboard. It's kind of like using a smartphone. Right now, everything has kind of two touches. If you do a short touch, it does one function. If you do a harder touch, it does a different version. So if you do a soft touch on the turn signals, they'll just flash as long as you have your finger there. So like for a lane change, we just need 3 or 4 flashes. If you do a hard touch, the turn signal will engage until you finish your turn. On the other side, so we have the horn, we have the right thumb wheel control for wipers. So you can either use this to do a single wipe, wash, or bring up a wiper menu, and then the button for the voice control. So autopilot and TAC are engaged by the thumb wheel. In this car, there are 2 options. By default, if you press it once, it puts you into autopilot mode. There's a software option that allows you to essentially have 2 clicks. So first click brings up TAC. Second click then adds auto steer to that. So you can have a little more granularity.
I understand you can change that in the settings, can't you? Can't you
Yes.
set it so one push goes straight into autopilot, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, the default is actually one push to put you into autopilot. And if you want, you can change it so you have 2 clicks.
I like the way, Omar, as well, on the dash, that it's kind of curving around that screen. So instead of being square and rectangular, you've kind of got, and the screen as it goes into the left, that looks like the glass carries on into the door.
Yeah, so the glass is, so it doesn't continue to the door. It's the same color. Let me close the door. It's the same color, so it's very continuous. The wood, the white, the trim, and everything lines up really well. But this is kind of this, kind of a rubbery material. Then this whole strip in the back is glass or plastic or something along the same lines. It's basically the same material.
It goes
in front of
right across. Wow.
So it goes behind the central display and over to the other side. So it's just kind of nice linear sweep with no breaks. One of the things I realized yesterday is one of the nice things about not having a top half of the steering wheel. There's a lot more real estate for the designers to play with in terms of using the display itself. So it's still 11 inches wide, which is the same width as a display on my wife's Model X. So the size is the same, but it feels like there's just more space for them to play with. The icons are, the icons for visualization, those kinds of things are just bigger. So I think maybe they're not taking advantage of it in the 10.2 software now, but certainly there's the option there to put more information on or just have it less dense. Sometimes in my wife's X, certainly when autopilot's on, things feel a little crowded. In terms of the way the display is set up, the center has driving visualizations. The right has speed, kind of all the autopilot stuff. So you have speed, your autopilot, auto steer settings, speed limit sign, those kind of things. The left is generally blank. If you have navigation turned on, then it does the turn-by-turn directions, like the current cars, but otherwise it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't have, right now, it doesn't have the customizations that you have on the S and the S and the X, where you can have you have your middle, then you kind of have apps for the left and right side. So right now everything is fixed.
So do you think that's waiting for a software update to bring more to it?
Yes, I do. So the cars, the hardware side of this is immaculate. I mean, it's an amazing piece of well-designed, executed engineering. The software feels a little unfinished. Like there are weird things that are missing. So I feel like there's probably features coming, or there are features that were designed. I mean, we hear the rumor that version 11 is coming around the corner. So maybe they're features that were only designed for version 11. And they didn't take the time or couldn't backport them to 10.2, which is what's running in the car right now. So like the automatic noise canceling, for example, the hardware is in the car, but it's not enabled yet. Sirius XM, which I'm not sure you have in Europe, the satellite radio, the hardware is in the car, but it's not available as a source yet. There's like I can't set the following distance with a thumb wheel, like I think you're used to with the 3 or the Y. I think I think everyone knows the car was late, so I think maybe part of that was, maybe some of the software stuff was taking longer than expected. So they just kind of pushed out 10.2, made sure it's workable, and there might be some more stuff coming down.
So the center screen, which
Mhm.
looks very high, well, it's very high resolution. I mean, it's bigger than 1080p, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that? Do you think that's because there's been some talk about whether that will ever move, or do
Uh,
you think it's just fixed?
it's a great question. So, originally on the website it said it was fixed, and then they deleted those references. It certainly looks well embedded in there. I mean, it's flush. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's flush. It's even like slightly recessed from the surface of the rest of the dash. That being said, this being Tesla, there are rumors that it does in fact tilt, and uh, an OTA update will reveal tilting function. So who knows? When I first got the car, I thought it'd be cool if I could, if it could cant this way 10 or 15 degrees maybe. But to be honest, I have not really thought that since I first picked the car up. The display itself is great. I mean, it's large, it's bright, it's high resolution. It's very responsive. There's no lag, anywhere on anything. Um, the I guess I can go through just kind of go through what's here. So like the other cars, the map's always kind of your desktop. It's the thing that's always up in the top corner. There's always a navigate box and the compass rose thing, which I think everyone's used to. One of the things that's different, so they're trying to get more flexibility with windows and where they're placed and those kind of things. It's been very, the car has been kind of rigid up to this point about this is where this window goes and not a lot of ability to move things around. And I think they're really trying to get to the point where, all windows are, float and you can put them wherever you want to. So like alerts and the like. So you get alerts at the bottom here. So things like home link or, fasten your seat belts or, your tire pressure is lower here. Just they'll pop up and you can just swipe these things down. The music player comes, switch hands here. The music player just pops up and you can drag. You can drag things around a little bit so you can you can kind of start to move app windows around and the
So
car will adapt.
yeah, you can configure the screen how you personally like it. I mean, that make it very personal.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's not complete. It's still kind of within guardrails, but certainly the intent seems to be there. The other nice thing for compared to the 3 and the Y is you still have this screen here, so this will be wide open. A lot of your car stays here. When you're charging, all the charging information is put here. So if you're playing a game or watching videos or stuff, this is just for watching watching your content. It's you're not fighting for you're not fighting for real estate on this in the screen. It seems very spacious, right? Like when you're just had this realization yesterday when you're backing up. The camera image you get here is way different than the camera image I've seen in a 3 or Y or even in my old X, which was a portrait. It's just a bigger, wider image. So again, a lot of real estate to play with, which is kind of cool. In general, so everything comes from the controls menu. I think this looks fairly. I think this looks pretty consistent with all all the other cars out there.
Yeah.
So the big thing here's the shifter. So pretty much, you swipe up if you want to go forward. You swipe down if you want to go into reverse. When the car's turned on, right up at top, there'll be a button to go into park. Anytime the car comes to a stop, whether it's in gear or not, the shifter screen comes up. So that handles park, reverse, and drive. And over here is a button to stick you into neutral if you so desire.
Have you tried the auto selecting?
I have.
That's an option. You can turn it on, isn't it?
Yeah, by default it's off, but you can turn it on. I was a huge skeptic. I'm not I have visions of the car, accelerating me into the back of my garage. But it's really cool. So what I really like is the UI is super explicit about what it's doing. So there are a couple of steps. If you have it turned on, you have to get into the car. You have to buckle your seatbelt before it does anything, and then you have to tap on the brake, and it'll tell you this is what I'm going to do. and it's right in the instrument cluster, so you're not going to miss it. It shows you a picture of a car, either the front or the back of your car, big arrow, so it's really clear what it's thinking about doing. And then if you're okay with that, you just press on the accelerator and you go. And if you're not, you can see the shifter's already up, always up here. So if you don't like the direction the car chose, manually select it. So it doesn't, it doesn't cost you additional. I mean, I don't like automation where if you don't like what the car is doing, it's like three extra steps. This is one thing. If the car picks, great. If the car doesn't, then you're shifting like you would have before. So I originally didn't have it turned on. Then I think day after I picked up the car, I turned it on. I was like, okay, this works well. It's not, it's not going to lead to unpleasant surprises. So I've kept that turned on. And in totality, if you look at what Tesla's done, they a lot of incremental steps really make it really easy to get into the car and drive, and then get out of the car and walk away. So you walk up to the car, it unlocks the door, and the handles pop out. You sit in, you buckle up. Car says, "Hey, let's go forward." You're good with that. You press on the accelerator and you go. Same kind of thing on the other end. Once you stop, if you unbuckle your seatbelt, the car automatically goes into park. Get out of the car, walk away. It locks itself. So, a bunch of little things individually say, hey, okay, kind of trivial or kind of, marginally interesting, but you kind of stack them all together. Like, okay, this is, this starts to become significant.
So someone has asked if you find that shifter annoying if you're doing like a multi-turn or like a parking maneuver going backwards and forwards.
It is not. It's no different than having a floor-mounted console shifter. It's kind of what I've been telling people. Where you kind of you're driving. I mean, it's always not. It's not as fast as having the stocks. But like the car before that had a shifter down here, and it's the same kind of thing. You shift into, you shift, you turn, you drive, you move. You shift, you turn, you move. And maybe someday the car will be smart enough to figure that piece out for itself.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a completely part for you. Which I assume it still has summon and auto park as part of the.
It still does summon, still has smart summon, still does auto park. So all the autopilot features that you're used to, it still does those. See, across the bottom, there's a dock, kind of, if you're a Mac user, it looks very familiar. You can have up to 7 icons or apps down here. You see there's a little white bar on the right are apps that you pin. On the left, it's just whatever the most recent apps you have used are. So you can pin up to 6 apps, and then have the car will always remember the others, or you can just kind of leave it as a default.
So someone has asked, someone has asked in the safety menu, can you see the active noise cancelling mentioned, or is that something that's just not in the software at all yet?
It's not in the software at all yet. The option to turn it on and off.
Yeah, it's just the hardware in that.
Yeah. So if you pop this up, you can see, these are kind of all the apps that are currently available. So none of the cool games that Elon's talked about, like Witcher or Cyberpunk, are available yet. It's kind of the same games that he's, the kind of the same games that are available in everyone's car.
Yeah, because there was something called, was it Cyberpunk or something? It was shown on the night, wasn't it? And then that's not actually the car yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume, some software update will unlock those things for folks. Let's see, if we go through this, let's see, pedals and steering. So this is fairly typical, so you can set your acceleration. So drag strip mode is what you use to heat the battery up for doing launches and those kind of things. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes to heat the battery up, so I think that's a lot faster than the prior models. And then steering comfort mode. So here's the button for turning auto shift off.
Can I ask you a question on this screen, Omar? Because on the Model 3 and the Y, and I believe the Raven S, there was a choice between creep mode and hold mode, and those options have gone. So the assumption appears to be that the car just has hold mode, what was referred to as hold mode, which means that when you're driving and you pull your foot off the brake, it will just slow down all the way to 0 and then automatically put the handbrake on. Is that how the car drives?
Yeah, that's exactly how it behaves. So if you let off the accelerator, then sorry guys, the private chat window just keeps wiping out the display. So when you so as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator, it'll regen, it'll coast, and then as soon as it slows to a certain point, it goes into hold. So if there's no creep setting anymore, as far as I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need to, so the neutral is if you need to free roll, like to get the car towed or those kinds of things. Suspension mode looks a lot like the Raven screen, I've been told. So you can set different settings. If you go into advanced, you can tweak things a little bit more. Just driving behavior. Oops, I need more hands. So driving behavior, it's a very poised chassis. It's still a big car. It's a fast car, but it's still a big car. And I've had the opportunity to take it on some nice twisty levee roads about down by the river for a couple of days, and it just is very well. It handles well. It doesn't squat or wallow. Good dampening, during city driving, and good responsiveness and communication during more spirited driving. Charging, so 48 amp max. There's a short list of things I missed for my P85. One is the pano roof. Another one is the 80 amp charging that it used to have. But 48 is good, so I'm not going to complain a whole lot. I think everything else looks the same. Autopilot, I think, looks the same. So here's the button we were talking about earlier. So this is the option to change auto steer activation from single to double click. Locks, I think, looks pretty much the same. Lights. There are ambient lights, so there are lights underneath the armrests that kind of light the door pockets. So that seems to be the limit of ambient lighting right now. Display, I think pretty much everything else looks exactly the same as other cars. Let's see, other interior features. A rear view mirror, unexciting. There's a camera for things. It currently apparently doesn't seem to be activated because the privacy policy switch isn't present yet. But minimally, this is supposed to help get rid of the nag screen. Rumor is it'll also do facial recognition for profiles. So as soon as you get in the car, it'll recognize your face and load up the correct profile. Moving down to the console, in case you care, everyone gets shiny pedals, LR and Plaid. So 2 inductive chargers. This is also, if your key fob ever, I think the cars have always had this passive receive. If your fob runs out of battery or you just have your key card, this is where you lay it. Like in my Model S, you could drop the key in the cup holder and it would recognize the key. So here's hazards. This entire strip is actually force touch sensitive. So this is the backup for shifting in case the screen goes out. Then there is a park, reverse, neutral, and drive button that'll illuminate on this strip, and you can use that for driving for shifting purposes. Let me move my Yeti. Console. This slides back. There's a cubby here. That slides back. There's a deeper cubby. The cup holder also slides back to give you full access. In here, you can kind of see there's 2 USB-C ports and a 12 volt, kind of the standard 12 volt auto port in there. And then this thing pops up, and there's the 3rd or 4th cubby. So unlike the prior car, certainly like my car, I kind of miss the yacht floor, but this car has a ton of internal storage to it. I think anything else exciting in the front? Not really. I mean, door handles, straight out of the 3 and the Y. Switches, emergency release, and then the button. Lots of speakers. There are speaker here, another speaker. There's one way back there. Something like 22 is the count. So visors, little flappy cover. They're lighted. They look the same on both sides. So if you want, we can. Oh, actually, let me while I'm here. Let me open the front and the back. If you want, we can go sit in the back seat.
Yeah, that would be great. Especially see the rear screen as well.
Yep. So back seat, pretty comfy as I get acclimated. So more speakers, map light, coat hook, yay! So rear screen. So yes, my trim piece is missing. This is like the one thing I found is the build quality was great. This is the trim piece came loose, which is kind of the only thing I found I need to go to take care of. So here you can control the temperature here. You can select music, fan speed, the seat warmers, choose media, and set the volume. This is also where the vents are for the back, so each side can have its own individual airflow. And then let's see, seats. I think everything looks fairly straightforward. There's a solenoid button here, so this folds down. Cup holders, more inductive chargers, and a little storage cubby back here. Let me pop out. Looking at the back.
Omar, someone has asked about the audio. How does it work if you're playing? Can you play different audio in the front and the back?
Not right now, but it's supposed to be a thing coming soon.
Right.
I think the vision is the kids in the back or the adults in the back can put on Bluetooth headsets and listen to one thing, and the folks in the front can listen to something else on the car speakers. So things of note. So if you notice, the buttons are no longer mechanical; they are solenoids. They're electronic releases to release the seats. And one of the reasons is they added a second set of buttons here to pop the seats down. So no longer do you have to reach through and yank on the mechanical release. You can either fold the seats down by pulling the releases here or pressing the buttons on the back. Pretty trunky. Looks fairly familiar. You have the trunk down here. You have the little side cubby here. The difference from at least my car, these two are now separate. In my car, it was a continuous space and stuff would roll back and forth. Now that's a separate thing. And then there's a little side cubby here.
Right.
The back.
Do you think there's a subwoofer in the side for the audio?
There is a subwoofer. I don't think it's on the side like it is on the old cars. I haven't done enough exploring to figure out where all the 22 speakers are. I think it might actually be in here. You can see there's a speaker grill along the top here. So at least there's a few of their 22 speakers here.
Yeah, someone is asking, is there a 12-volt outlet in the back like there is in the Model X?
There is not. If there is, I have not found it. But they were kind enough to add trunk lighting, which is an improvement. Let's see, walking around to the front. The trunk is fairly conventional. It seems tiny compared to the one that I had in my X, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward. It's carpeted. It's kind of this low, almost this felty carpeting. Then here's the button and the light and the emergency release, and then a little holder for the tow hook.
That's very Model 3 size, I think.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of everything there is to see.
I'll tell you one thing I can see there, Omar. They've moved the wiper fluid forward, because it used to be right up at the top, and it was really hard to get under. They've moved it right forward. Yeah.
Yes, they've listened. They've learned things. You can certainly see they paid attention to, the certain amount of crankiness. Two wipers. People keep asking me if there's only one wiper. I guess somewhere there's a rumor there's only one wiper. Like the X, and I think maybe the 3 and the Y, the wiper fluid shoots out from the wiper blades.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes, there is lumbar support on both sides, just in case you're worried. I think that's kind of it.
So
Any
someone
other
also
questions?
asked, yeah, someone has also asked about the audio. You know,
Yep.
if it's Dolby Surround or Atmos, or is there anything about the quality of the audio?
So the quality audio is exceptional. So I'm a big audio geek. Typically, when I own the car, the first thing I do is rip out the factory system, and spend a few $1,000s putting my own in. This is amazing. It's very, it's very open, good sound stage, good imaging. It's very neutral. The graphic equalizer has about 6 dB of play on each of the channels, so you can really customize it for the kind of music you listen to. So super pleased about that. The car itself has a very low noise floor, so there's acoustic glass on almost all the glass except the windshield. And beyond that, it certainly seems like they spent some time reducing noise, from the motor and the compressor and all those kinds of things. So the low noise floor really helps with the music. I'm certainly curious when the noise canceling kicks in, how that helps the situation.
Right. So there's another question, but is the rear screen double glazed as well on the rear doors?
Yes. So the window glass, So okay, it's easier the other way. The only things that aren't doubles, that aren't laminated is these little quarter panels and the windshield.
Wow.
Otherwise, these plus the hatch are.
Right. So someone is asking, can you demonstrate the driver side source of HVAC airflow?
The actual vents, or what the interface looks like.
I think it's the vents.
Okay. Let's see. This will be interesting with this camera. Can you
Oh,
see
wow.
that?
Yeah.
So there are two vents, one here, one here, one here. This would be much easier with the cameraman to pay attention to what I'm saying and where I'm pointing. And then there is a vent up here and a vent down here. So on the driver's side, that's where so you get laminar airflow from both of those, and they play with them to set it in different directions. And then on the passenger side, basically the top and the bottom of the glass panel we were talking about. And then on in the rear seats, there are vents above and below the display.
Right. So someone has asked, have you noticed what the vampire drain is like? Is it any different to your older car?
No, it's hard to tell. My old car, had its own challenges. It's certainly lower. I mean, I'd probably because I charged 90% every night, and then it'd be probably 88 in the morning. But that was also 8-year-old pack, so I'm not sure that's a fair comparison. So far, it's not maybe losing a percentage overnight. I'm not sure if that much.
Right. Okay.
Oh, let me show the interface just because it's kind of useful here. So this is a climate control. So basically, power auto, defrosters, front and rear, the manual controls, biodefense mode. Over here are kind of all the pet mode, camping mode, keep the AC running when the car is stationary controls. Across the bottom there is heating for the yoke, and it'll heats the area where the wipers park when they're not in use. And then we talked about the seats. So there are two modes. Basically, if you stick it in auto, then the car will decide to turn turn the ventilation on or turn the heating on based on temperature and what else is going on. If you don't like that, then you can manually set either the heater or the ventilation, and then set the speed or the intensity. One thing I did notice, like I actually can see it here, when there's no one in the passenger seat, then it doesn't turn those vents on, and it concentrates all the airflow at
Oh,
the
that's
driver.
interesting. Yeah. The other thing that's interesting, Omar, did you ever get an option to have a full steering wheel? Because I noticed there on that icon, it is a yoke. I mean, the
Yep.
icon, it's not a steering wheel, it's a yoke icon.
Yep. Yeah. Everywhere, even in the auto steer, everywhere you might normally see a wheel, they have yokes. I think Tesla's fairly committed to the yoke.
How have you found, because this is, I think, one of the biggest questions that everyone has, how have you found driving with the Yoke steering wheel yourself?
So day one, so I've had the car a week now. So day one, I felt like I just got my learner's permit again, in that between the steering wheel and also no stalks anymore. It's like, I'm not sure if folks remember back, but not my memory's refreshed. But you have to think about everything. Where do I put my hands? Where are the controls? What's the sequence of events? Because you have no muscle memory, and I have like 40 years of muscle memory just got thrown out the window. So it was hard. I've posted videos. I've tried to be very upfront with the experience. But like within 72 hours, I posted another one like 2 days later after I got the car. You start to get acclimated. I mean, I started to figure out. I stopped reaching for the non-existent, turn signals. I start to get more comfortable and figure out where hand position should be for the Yoke. To be honest, last couple of days I've been out driving around. I stopped thinking about the Yoke. Just kind of figured out hand positions at work. Starting to build muscle memory. Gotten super comfortable with both the shifter and the turn signals. So, I tell everyone, look, there's going to be a learning curve. You should go in with expectations. You're going to feel awkward for a couple of days, but if you keep driving, things will start to click.
Yeah, it was a bit like the Model 3 with the center screen, I think.
Yeah.
You soon adapted to it. I mean, I don't even think twice about it now. It's just get in and drive. So someone else asked, are there roof bar mount points on the roof? Can you
There
put?
are. So if you're familiar with the mount points on the prior generation, exact same thing.
Right. So effectively the roof is just the same as it was.
Yep.
Someone else is asking, have they confirmed if jump seats will be coming? I think these are the child seats in the boot, but the S was orderable.
No. So it's certainly not an orderable option. Rumor is they were going to see. I think there was like a tweet from Elon or something about seven-seat option. You can certainly see it, much like the original X, there's room back there for small people. There's a footwell and those kind of things, but it's not a configurable option right now.
Yeah, someone is asking, please use the lumbar support daily so Tesla don't take it away.
I love Elon Tesla, but that was not the best logic. It's like, it's not a thing you screw with on a daily basis.
Oh dear, yeah. So someone is asking, are the rear seats heated?
Yes. Heated and I believe ventilated.
Yeah, I think I saw the outer seats are ventilated.
Yeah, I mean, there's no perforations for the center seat. Right?
Yeah. So it's luxury. I have to say, the rear seats do look much more like two buckets and then a converted middle, don't they? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, then the unlucky person in the middle.
Yeah, definitely.
The friend no one likes.
Right.
Anything else? I mean, this is ask me anything mode.
I'm just going.
You'll get honest answers.
Yeah, someone's asking about ambient lighting, but I think you've actually already answered that.
Yeah, it's fairly modest. There's LEDs that are underneath the armrest that kind of illuminate the bottom half of the door, kind of illuminate the door pocket.
Oh, can we see the manual release for the rear seats?
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, when we see them release them, you just want to see the controls.
I'm sure he asked earlier, Josh. This Paul Kelly. He asked a slightly different question.
So yeah. I'll just pull that so you kind of hear the click maybe. So they're just pulling back. I feel like they lie a little flatter than in my car, but I couldn't.
Right.
For that, for sure. The other nice thing, there's not a huge gap. I mean, it's not a German Shepherd, a haul around in this, so there's not a huge seam anymore between the end of the trunk and the hinge for the seat. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think he's asking, is there a way of releasing the seats from the back doors? But I think it's those buttons on the back that you see, isn't it? So you just reach around and press those.
Yeah. So normally, so you can do this. Yeah. So normally just press here and pull. So that's consistent with the way you've always done it. And then the switches in the trunk of the
He is meaning the manual release for the actual doors.
Oh.
He means emergency rear door release located on rear bottom seat.
Yeah. Underneath the carpet. Let's see if we can do this.
Wow, this is super geeky.
Yeah, let's see if we can get the camera. It's the same as the 3. So underneath the carpet, there's a little slit. I'm not sure how much you can see from here. And you reach in there, and there's a handle you have to pull towards the center line of the car. It'll manually release the door.
It's the same as the 3 and the Y, right? Okay.
Yep.
So it's quite interesting. Essentially, what they've done is they've brought all of the innovations they had on the 3 and the Y. They brought it to the S, haven't they? Really?
Yeah. I mean, they have an immense amount of data, on those cars based on their volume, right? So, stuff they've learned. I think that's probably a smart move.
So someone is asking, is the roof liner Alcantara?
Yes, all over the place. So pretty much anything above the belt line, including, all this, the top of the deck, the top of the package shelf. Kind of anything above the belt line, so all the pillars. Plus there's not really much of a roof to line because the middle is all
It's all glass. Yeah.
Is all glass, but what there is to line is lined.
Yeah. Now this is actually quite an interesting question. Someone said, "How is the height compared to your old S of the rear seat?" Because there is a significant increase in the manual to the rear seat headroom. And it's kind of interesting because you did say before that the seat is reclined a little more, but do you think the bottom of the seat is lower as well?
I don't think so. I mean, I got long legs, and the seat rest still supports my thighs. So I don't think I think it's probably a little bit taller than in the at least my generation of 3. I'm not sure if there's something you can't really speak to subsequent generations. Overall build quality has been great. The paint was awesome. Panel gaps were all nice and even, nothing wonky. I mean, other than that, the trim piece underneath the display, which actually was fine. I think all my acceleration starts might have shaken it loose a little bit.
I'm just going through all I can't see anything else. Has anyone got any more questions? Yeah, people saying they're noticing rear map pockets in the door. I don't think map pockets in the front seats. I'm not sure there is, but there are.
You mean like door pockets? Yeah.
There are door pockets, yeah, which is new for the S, isn't it?
Yep. Any door pockets is new to the S.
Yeah.
Any pockets, period.
I think there's one final question. Is the trunk close button like the 3 and the X, and it's square?
No, it's round.
It's round. There you go.
But you can set the opening height like you could on the, at least on my S. You kind of open it to the height that's comfortable, then hold it, and it'll beep, and then it remembers the height.
Right. I think we've run out of time actually, because it's we've been an hour.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to thank you very, very much, Omar, for taking the time. God knows what your neighbors think. You keep walking around your car with the camera.
Yeah, this is my third. That's my third. I've got 3 more. So at some point.
Oh wow! Oh, always doing it again.
I know, really. Such a prima donna. Anyway, folks, have questions. I mean, you can run through you guys, or you can find me on Twitter or TMC. I'm happy to.
Thank you
Keep
so
answering
much,
questions.
and you've been very generous with your time and very generous with your car. And for us over here, where we're so far away, it's really great to get up close with the new car, which we're all very interested in and excited about.
Cool. I'm glad I could help.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll see you soon.